mean, it's really the least surprising thing that's happened out of the Trump administration so far this second term. You know, the tariffs took place this week. He went through with it like an absolute imbecile against every economist, every business person, every traditional Republican, every Democrat, anybody who believes in having a functioning world economy, let alone a U.S. economy. And for those of us who are of the Gen X generation, you know, who watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I even hung out with Ben Stein one day in a green room. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930 is that scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off is making the rounds on social media right now about how tariffs are what are so disastrous.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the Great Depression, passed the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which raised or lowered, raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression.
Here's how bad these tariffs are. I mean, we all know that tariffs are essentially a tax on us. So when Trump put in the tariffs on the penguins in the herd in McDonald Islands, it's an Australian island with no humans on it. We know that tariffs, for anybody who bothers paying attention, it's a tax that we pay. So China ships the product, as an example, ships the product to the United States. It hits Customs and Border Patrol, right? And then I actually have experience with this craziness. And it's the importer, so the American side, that pays the tariff. And so then they're going to pass that along in higher prices. Now, that's the basics of tariffs and why that they're really a multi-trillion-dollar tax on the American consumer. And again, who does it affect the most? It's not affecting the 1% because they have the income, the money, whatever. It's not because they're also going to get lower income taxes out of this deal. It's going to affect the lowest income brackets the hardest. And the idiocy of bring American manufacturing back, that's exactly what Joe Biden was doing. Trump didn't execute on that in his first term. Joe Biden did, bringing things back when he was president, and actual real dramatic increases in manufacturing investment and manufacturing employment in his single term as president. But not only that, Doge, and we'll get to Elon Musk in this show today because I've got another one for you guys that makes it even worse about Elon, if that's possible at this point. But Doge cut the people in the U.S. federal government that promoted and worked on bringing manufacturing back to the United States. That's where we are. That's where we are this week. By the way, the unimaginable happened in response to the tariffs. And when I say unimaginable, anybody who knows or studies anything about East Asia, which I'm going to guess, if you're watching this show or listening to this show, you clearly have some knowledge about East Asia, because we don't necessarily get the low information voters, who pay attention to this show.
The big three.
The big three, Japan, South Korea, and China are banding together against the United States. Enemies. Actual enemies.
Shaking hands.
I just saw on the news this morning, the EU is coming together for a completely unified approach against the United States as well. And the EU, while it's the EU, has its disagreements among the member states and everything else. They're unified in their approach to the United States in this tariff battle as well. Congratulations, Donald Trump. You couldn't have done a worse job on every level. Oh, you're just going to have to bear through the pain and it's going to be better on the other side. Do you know how long it takes to plan, fund, and build a manufacturing plant in the United States? It's a minimum of 3 to 5 years. And because of what's happened in the stock market, losing trillions of dollars in 2 days, worst 2-day drop in history in the stock markets, the access to capital is reduced for the companies who have to build these manufacturing plants. It's literally the perfect storm of shit caused by one orange-faced man who decided that he doesn't understand economics, who doesn't really have a great track record in business, and decided through his own personal grievances that he's held since the 1980s, he's going to implement an economic plan, which is not really a plan, that is just devastating to the United States and the world economy, which of course hurts the United States.
But it probably helps him in the end in one way or another. I mean, when we talk about a plan, he's not all of a sudden turning into, a great statesman or a great policy man all of a sudden or anything like that. Like, there's always the question of what's his game here and what is he doing? And we've seen that he just wants to blow everything the fuck up. And there were quotes that surfaced. I know Crissy sent one around in our chat. Underestimate Donald Trump at your peril. I've seen other people saying, oh, he's too much of an idiot for this, or he's so stupid. He's got a plan for himself. And the thing that Crissy sent around was him talking years ago of, when the economy crashes and everything's low in price, stocks or real estate or whatever, that's when I buy things up. And that him and all his cronies and 1% buddies, either shorted this market or are sure to make a killing once everything crashes. As Ethan said a minute ago, it's not going to hurt the 1%, right? It's going to hurt the masses, the people, every consumer in the United States. But Trump has a game plan here. You better believe it.
I do better in bad markets. I buy things in bad markets. And you can't do that in a great economy. You can't buy it. Either you're going to buy it very expensively or not be able to buy it at all. So there's a lot of opportunity, I find, in the bad times.
The plan is like Russia plan, right? So you tank everything, erase the middle class, all you and your oligarch buddies, you can buy up everything. Like, this has already happened to a certain degree in the farm industry. And the reason I say that is because one of the things that I've been looking at personally is investing in a small farm. And one of the really interesting things about America is we had some really great grants for small farmers, right? Because particularly ones who are willing to now grow whatever is needed and multiple cropping, right? So not just these big farmers who want to just do soy or just do wheat or corn. They're looking for they were giving grants, and I was interested in getting one. So I've been researching it and looking at like farmlands and took a class on how you would do this. Those grants are gone thanks to Doge. All of that is gone, and that is intrinsic to the goal of what I think personally they're trying to do, right? This idea of like, if you just fuck over the middle class and there isn't any equity among class systems and it becomes an oligarchy, all those farmers that took the grants, remember like at the beginning of this when Doge started like cutting everything, those farmers were like, wait the fuck a second, I just took out $100,000 loan for equipment because I received a grant from the feds, like this federal industry grant for this farming, and now I'm fucked because you just took away the grant and I have $100,000 of debt for this tractor and all this shit that I bought and this farm I erected and this greenhouse that you legally made me put up here because the part of the grant said I had to have this greenhouse.
And the farmers are pissed.
The farmers are
talking
fucking
about
pissed.
Middle America. I had a post from an old friend of mine from school who's a small farmer in Minnesota, Ethan. And I forget the town, but he was taken aback by the size of the protest in like the nearest smallish town city near him on the weekend, one of the hands-off protests, the anti-Musk one. And he was like, this surprised me. I mean, these are the farmers who are out here and are pissed. This isn't New York City. This isn't even Minneapolis right now. And it's already hitting middle America, as we're seeing.
Yeah. Right. I saw a post this weekend with somebody who had one of those gigantic Trump flags, and the person posted saying, my neighbor's been flying the giant Trump flag forever, and it was turned upside down and flying at half mast.
Was that Alito's house?
Yeah.
Did Mrs. Alito flip their flag over? And does the justice have any idea what the hell is going on in his front yard?
Everybody is going to get hit hard. It's just everything is going to go up in price. The only thing that's not going up in price at the moment is actually oil. And it's because Giant firms are saying now it's a 60% chance that we're heading into a recession, which will lead to a global recession. And then it's a long-term recession. Stop saying the R word, by the way, media. Call it what it is, a recession. Have you noticed that? They're all saying, oh, the R word. No, the R word is what we say so we don't use, when we were growing up, what we called people of low IQ. That's the R word. The recession is a recession. A depression is a depression. These are financial, economic terms used. Oil is the only thing right now that's not getting more expensive. And that's because global demand is expected to drop hard. And so everything the markets are doing, and I've got a huge one I'm going to tell you guys in a second that nobody's talking about that I've seen. All of the markets are saying, this is horrible. We're going to lose a lot of money. It looks like it could be a recession. That's why oil is going down hard right now. But the one that not a lot of people are talking about, Dave, is the opposite has happened since the tariffs have been announced. What everybody expected regarding the U.S. dollar. Have you seen the dollar has tanked?
Yes, because I have to transfer funds. So I have fucking seen it, Ethan. Thank you for bringing that up. And somebody messaged me yesterday, hey, do you think I'm going on a trip? Because people message me every day for travel advice. I'm going on a trip. Do you think I should wait till I get to Great Britain to take out cash from a bank? I was like, not with this dollar. Get your fucking money out right now. Go to your bank immediately. I was like, the dollar is dropping by the minute. Literally fucking free. So what was 91 cents 2 weeks ago? When I'm doing my exchange rate, because I got to pay for French school, and I'm like, Wells Fargo sucks. They give me a terrible fucking rate, but whatever. All right, get it. Thank God, a couple of months ago, I actually put it as much as I possibly could in my French account, because you have a max. I can't have more than $10,000, otherwise I'm money laundering, right?
Don't money launder. Don't do it, please.
I got a couple guys who could help you with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't. I got a business, in the Grand Caymans. I got a business there.
More like Newark. I don't know if it's the Grand
or
Caymans.
Newark. Okay, excuse me.
Not quite the Grand Caymans, but yeah.
I'm familiar with the mob, so these are my people. So the dollar is tanking. They're not. Just kidding. That's totally not true. Although I did date the guy whose family ran the garbage company in San Francisco growing up, so I'm just saying. Yeah.
I videoed my Wall Street Journal app, I think, yesterday morning, because it was all negative news about what's happening as a result of the tariffs. The Wall Street Journal is like, what are you doing?
And that's not exactly a pinko commie rag either.
Right.
Literally, right? all they care about is money.
Wasn't that a reason we gave a pass to certain Trump voters we knew? You were like, yeah, we get why you voted for Trump. You want to keep your money, but their 401ks are tanking. Rich people have lost money that voted. Rich Trumpers have lost their own fucking money. And I'm like, so what? That's self-owned.
It's worse than that, because you have, like we've talked about since Trump took office, you have all these kind of middle income, let's call them middle income people who are dependent on things like their 401k.
Yes.
Who elected Donald Trump. And let's say you're in your late 50s, early 60s thinking you're retiring. You're not now. You're going to be hanging on to that job, back to the boomers not retiring.
Fuckers, get out.
They're going to look at this massive drop in the market. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had in the last few days with people across the economic classes who are deeply worried, because, again, if you have a basic 401k and that's what you're looking at to supplement your Social Security, that just dropped typically between 10 and 15%.
It's horrifying stuff for anybody who's thinking of retiring, or as I'm dealing with right now for the first time, I can almost fast forward in my life because I'm helping out my old man who is retired, not a Trump voter, lifetime progressive, God bless him. But he's, we're dealing with this day to day now. He's got a pension left over from my mother's teaching career, God bless her. He's got his Social Security, but there's a gap between that and his expenses every year. And so in part, we have to live off his retirement funds. And thankfully, some of that is still, in things that are FDIC secured or in some CDs. So we have a bit of a cushion. But if this lasts, his 401k and his IRA anything that was in the market has tanked. And it's terrifying. We'll be all right for a little while, but
the good news for Gen X is none of us were retiring anyway. We're all working till we're dead. And same with millennials at this point, since what is this, the third or fourth economic crisis in their adulthood, which matches us basically. Although this is probably, we have, I think, one more than them.
They'll be fine. They're already going to all get rich being influencers anyway. Don't worry about
that's true. That's true. But let me read you a couple of these quotes that I saw regarding the dollar problem. Here's a quote. Okay. The blowback of U.S. tariffs onto the U.S. domestic economy leaves the dollar naked. That's the quote from ING Global Head of Markets, Chris Turner. Here's another one. Quote, one way of interpreting this is investors are suddenly becoming afraid of the policies that are being promoted in the U.S. and therefore they don't want their money here. Senior economist with the Tax Foundation Center for Federal Tax Policy told Axios, quote, if people think the U.S. isn't a good place to invest in, they might say, I don't trust this whole tariff regime, or I don't trust the U.S. economy. When was the last time you heard that?
Yeah. This is the safe place when everywhere tanks, right? This is still, Great Recession years ago, the worst economy we had seen since the Depression. This was still where people will park their money, the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, the fact that, we have FDIC insurance and things like that. Like, even in tough times, the dollar and the U.S. is the place to be, but not now.
To me, this is the tariffs. I've said this before. Tariffs can be useful when they're targeted. So again, like when in Trump's first term said, hey, I'm going to start putting some tariffs on Chinese goods. I agreed with that, right? I mean, they've absolutely played outside the rules. They joined the World Trade Organization and they haven't followed the rules. They subsidize their industries. They do all kinds of things. I'm okay with that. And Biden, by the way, continued what Trump did in his first term. I also agree with selective tariffs when you have a specific industry. Solar panels being dumped here. Maybe you're dumping aluminum or steel from China into our markets. Selective targeting makes sense, but the whole world is we've started a war. There's a headline in the Wall Street Journal, I think it was today. China wanted to negotiate with Trump. Now it's arming for another trade war. It's one thing to take on a single country at a time or a single market at a time. It's another thing to say, this is Germany's history. That Norm Macdonald has that great joke about what's the one country I'm afraid of? Germany. They declared war on the whole world.
I don't know if you guys are history buffs or not, but... in the early part of the previous century, Germany decided to go to war. And who did they go to war with? The world. That had never been tried before. And so you figure that would take about 5 seconds for the world to win, but no, it was actually close. Then about 30 years pass, and Germany decides again to go to war, and again it chooses as its enemy the world. And this time they have that guy, Schrankly, Crankly, that guy, and I'm not even going to dignify him by saying his name, but I think you know what I'm talking about. But you'd think at that point the world will go, listen, Germany, here's the deal. You don't get to be a country no more on account of you keep attacking the world. I mean,
Yep.
That's what the U.S. is doing right now, and it's stupid to say, let's take on the whole world concurrently. We can't do it. We're not going to be good at it. It's not going to turn out well.
And by the way, I want to push back on one thing I've also seen online from some of my Trumper cousins who, You could use the R word if you want to. You know, some of them with the Boston accent, they might be a little bit some of those guys, I gotta say. And I've seen them post that, oh, this is going to help American industry. Well, a little bit of economics 101, not just the stuff that's coming in from China, the prices on that we've already been buying, those are going to go up, but also whatever it may be, if it's made in the United States, those are more expensive goods, so the prices are going to go up. And even things that, like, you talk about, like automobiles or something like that. If the price of imported cars go up, it's not like Ford or anything manufactured in the States that they're just going to, like, oh, for the good of the people, leave the prices here. The prices on those things are going to go up to just below whatever the foreign imported good was.
That's right.
So everything's going to get more expensive.
Everything.
So all my R-word cousins, if you were freaking out about eggs a little while ago, guess what? Everything's going up, not just the imported shit. It's going to be a tax on the imported shit, and all the domestically produced shit is going to go up in price also. That was already more expensive, by the way.
It was. And I just want to give an example of how people are truly ignorant of how the global trade is a thing since the end of World War II. That was the whole thing that the United States led, and Bretton Woods Agreement and everything else that we can talk about. And there's a good reason for it, because in human history, we had never had free trade on the high seas. Everybody taxed things as it passed by their country or through their whatever. And we had said, that's why this last period, and I think we've talked about this a number of times now, between the end of World War II and somewhere, let's call it the year 2000, just as an example, that is an absolutely unique, special golden age in human history, where we had, generally speaking, peace, and we had, generally speaking, free trade, and everybody benefited as a result. And that is an absolute aberration in human history. And so with this reckoning, even Michael Douglas came out and was like, what the hell? 75 years, Russia's tried to destroy us. Now we're suddenly going to be their ally and throw away all of our other allies. I mean, by the way, Dave, to your point, Dave Chappelle had a great piece.
All this motherfucker's ideas sound like high people ideas. Like, he doesn't think these things through before he tells us. He just tells us what he's thinking as soon as it occurs to him. This shit sounds nuts. I'm gonna go to China, and I'm gonna get those jobs from China and bring them back here to America. For what, nigga? So iPhones can be $9,000? Leave that job in China where it belongs. None of us want to work that hard. The fuck is he thinking? I want to wear Nikes. I don't want to make them shits. What the fuck are you doing? Stop trying to give us Chinese jobs.
We don't need all of these manufacturing jobs back in the United States. We don't need all of them. There's trade, both sides benefit. I heard another great example of this. I can't remember who said it, but it was basically Switzerland is great at making watches. Let's say Italy is great at growing wheat. And Switzerland sucks at growing wheat, and Italy sucks at making high-precision watches.
You think? Those guys are on time for everything. What do you mean?
And the point is let Switzerland be great at making high-precision watches. Let Italy be great at growing wheat. And right. What happens when we set up these tariff structures and say everything needs to be done in your own country? Well, Switzerland absolutely sucks at growing wheat. It's not the right environment. It's just not. It's this little mountainous country, and it's gorgeous, and I love it, and it's beautiful, and blah, blah, blah. And yes, there's stuff left over from World War II we can talk about. But Italy shouldn't be making their own watches. So all this does is raise prices. It hurts everybody's standard of living. And we saw that in the 1930s. And it's just nuts. It's just nuts.
To your point, Ethan, we had this, 60 or so year stretch of a golden age, economically speaking, mm-hmm. right? Certainly in the States and worldwide. But screw it. Let's go back to Smoot-Hawley in the 1930s. Like, right. It's insane. So he's got to have a game, though, right? He's got to have a game. He's got a reason he's doing it.
He's literally reimagining the Gilded Age, guys. Like, that is what he's fucking doing. Like, And I am exhausted by us people all talking to each other, and then you still try to have this conversation with your fucking cousin who says or your fucking uncle who's a dick, or but I mean I could go on. Like, I have friends who are Trumpers, and it's just like, at some point we have to, I think the Democrats and liberals need to do this, and I you know, I am hard on hard left people, but you have to know when you're wrong and own that shit. And I have said so many times to far left people, you were fucking wrong about Palestine. You bought into that propaganda. You got to admit that you bear responsibility for the situation we're in, that you don't like with Trump as the president, because you just basically basically made Palestinians massacre worse, right? Like, he wants to go in there with fucking, you know, Trump properties and build Gaza into that. Like, but to the right is like, I mean, it's like Pete Hesgeth, they'll never be wrong. And I feel like this is the crux of what I get frustrated with, is like, I have friends who voted for Trump, and I'm like, they're never wrong. They literally just then regurgitate whatever the same with the Fox News readers and whatever. It's like they just regurge Hank Tough, okay? Hank Tough. When he saw the fucking whole thing dropping, he told everybody, Donald Trump, to Hank Tough. He's like me on fucking Instagram with zero fucks given, because I don't proofread. I just post and go because I'm not the fucking president. Everybody has to suffer, so then you can feel a little bit less sheepish that you were a fucking asshole, that you were willing to give away women's rights and fucking gay rights and trans rights for your fake Christian bullshit. You're not Christians, you're fucking cunts. Period. End of story. Because Christians, Jesus loved poor people. Jesus loved everybody. Jesus was in service to people. Jesus, no false idols, no fucking monuments, no fucking Dogecoin, no fucking Trump coin. None. That is not Christian in any way, motherfuckers. And I have had to endure this bullshit and try to be like a nice person in the middle, being like, I love my cousins and uncles who are Trump supporters, even though they're fucking wrong. And I have to support my like free Palestine friends, where I'm like, you're fucking morons. That's goddamn propaganda. I am literally so like at the point where people were like, fuck all y'all. Everybody's going down. Fuck all y'all. We're all going down. And I'm trying to be mature enough not to be like, I told you so. But at some point, these people have to be wrong and these people have to be wrong, because it's unbearable. It's fucking unbearable. You were fucking wrong. It's okay. I was wrong all the time. I married the wrong person. I've dated every wrong person there is to date. I make terrible decisions on the fucking daily. I am wrong. Every day I do something stupid that's wrong. And it is okay. And we just will not. America's exceptionalism and the way we're raised to never do anything wrong, to never be wrong, to have never admit defeat, to never be like, that didn't go how I thought it was going to go. I would like a chance to reassess that. And it has to come from the other people too. It's like, if you have Trump voter friends that come to the party and say, I made a mistake, you got to go, cool, like, let's work together for this next thing. Then not like, I fucking told you so. Even though I would love to get a fucking plane and put I told you so in the air, like everywhere. Like, it is literally how I feel so deeply in my heart. Like, I fucking told you so. But that's not going to help us. So where do we move forward, guys? Where's the fucking, we're in the Gilded Age. What are we going to do?
By the way, one thing on Pete Hegseth, the little news, he actually texted a group chat that I'm in and said that he made a mistake. But he found vanishing mode, so it went away before I could screenshot it. So he's getting smarter. Pete's improving. You know, got to give credit where credit is due.
The Gilded Age is a partial comparison. I think it's worse than that. I don't think that they just want the Gilded Age. I really believe that this goes back to more like lords and serfs, right?
Yeah.
Which is a little bit worse than the Gilded Age.
Worse clothing, let's be clear. The Gilded Age has some fucking killer architecture and clothing. I can get down with that, but we're not even going to go back to that because Republicans dress like shit. So, okay, let's go.
And the reason I say that is really because of the attacks on the idea of things like, I still see that we have a Supreme Court that appears that they would be open to removing a woman's right to birth control, for example. Yeah. Possibly even interracial marriage.
So wait, Justice Thomas is going to reverse interracial marriage? Okay, cool story, bro.
His writings indicate that he would be open to that because it doesn't fit with what, and the reason this is why I go to Lords and Serfs is we have at least a couple of people on the Supreme Court who are stuck on this idea that if it wasn't the original text, this whole originalism garbage that's been around now for the last 20 years, that, by the way, was made up whole cloth. It literally was just made up. There was no concept of originalism until they made it up and said, hey, if it wasn't as written in 1789, it's not applicable today. And that's why I say Lords and Serfs as opposed to the Gilded Age. Gilded Age is the 1890s. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's long after we had the 14th Amendment passed. We had Reconstruction. We had, post Dred Scott.
Right. But the predecessor to that was we do not fulfill Lincoln's plan. We do not fulfill, right, anything from the Civil War, right? That was the easy way into that age.
By the way, what a horrifying little analysis this is. We're basically talking about how far back in time is the country going. Is it going to be 1930 or 1890 or, pre-Revolutionary War? Is that where we are?
Yes. Yes, we are. And that's what I've been trying to argue about for so many years now with this, especially on the originalism topic, where it's such in my mind, it's such a whole cloth made up concept that took root, and it started around things when the Civil Rights era and the 1968 Gun Control Act was passed. And we had some extremists on the far right that has now taken hold as a mainstream idea. The John Birch Society is just one example of this group that was so far to the right that now suddenly so many of their ideas have become mainstream that, yes, Dave, it is that concerning. And yes, we are talking about whether it's the 1930s or the 1890s or the 1790s, which one are we going back to? And it really is rooted in that when there are people who sit on the Supreme Court with this unbelievable concept that if it wasn't as written in 1789, no good. So, there was no birth control. There was no women's rights. There were, Black people didn't have equal rights. Indigenous, Native Americans, Indians did not have any rights.
Did we not have on the fucking Jefferson Memorial his famous quote about what we're implementing now will evolve because things will evolve, and we wouldn't want to shackle somebody in the same suit that fit them as a child as it would as an adult. Like he had imagined things would evolve. The problem is like that concept is true, right? Like we've got women's rights, we have things, we've evolved as a country and a nation and a society with science and medicine and laws and civil rights and human rights.
Yeah, and know that those rights that you just mentioned that things have evolved into and we now have, we're learning, by the way, not forever do we have them.
No.
They're still in the balance.
All of it is up for grabs as what Dave was just saying. So what do we do about it? Well, one of the things that we do about it is to keep pounding home simple key points. This is Trump's doing. This is what he wanted. He lied to you about Project 2025, just straight up lied to you. Half the people who wrote it are half of his administration. I knew nothing about it. You're an absolute fucking liar. And that you knew nothing about. He's just he is so comfortable lying. He doesn't know when he tells the truth and when he lies. That happens with people who are
malignant narcissists. They just lie.
His first term, we documented over 30,000 lies. Right? The Washington Post documented over 30,000 lies they told just in his first term. So what do? We have these giant protests, hands off. Crissy and I have talked many times about, we were at the Women's March. I'm a huge supporter of these types of events. I and my children participated in the post-Parkland, the gun reform protests here in Los Angeles. And yet at the same time, I support the right to, in my home and to hunt and everything else to, have firearms. So I'm not anti-gun at all. But the idea of what we're doing is so messed up. And the protest yesterday, you guys are going to hopefully have a different opinion, but I'm glad that we had the protests.
It wasn't the Women's March, right? It wasn't of that level of impact, right? There wasn't like Dave and I were like, had talked about this previously, like the impact, maybe not so much, but what I liked that I think we even touched on in a little bit was, the smaller towns, right, that came out, like that the people in Michigan or Wisconsin or wherever, there was unexpected small town people that are more directly impacted. Because I think the problem again is, if it's a big march in LA or a big march in New York and millions of people there, no one fucking cares, because they're like, yeah, liberals, we fucking know you don't. Like, you can easily just go like that to a big old bunch of liberals that get together in giant liberal cities. The positive I could take from it is the small cities that came out that come from like predominantly Republican voting states or areas, that's a good thing. Obviously, exercising your freedoms of speech now more than ever, when Trump is seeking to get rid of that.
I don't care. I mean, I'm happy for LA and New York and Boston to turn out in huge numbers. Great.
Right.
It's all fucking Democrats who represent.
Right.
What we need are what's happening in these town halls. We need that happening in every single goddamn town hall, so these Republicans understand that they are fucking up by capitulating to Trump and Musk and Doge. And their capitulation to the tariffs is an absolute tragic mistake that is harming their constituents. I need the Republicans. I need the veterans. I need the farmers to show up and raise holy hell about this. It doesn't, I'm happy for my liberal friends to do it. You're not changing a goddamn thing. I'm sorry. You're feeling good, which is great. Feel good, feel energized, feel motivated.
Also, there needs to be an effectiveness to it. So like registering people to vote.
I don't even care about registering to vote fucking anymore.
Well,
show up to fucking vote.
Show up to vote would be great. But
we had huge voter registration leading into the 2024 election, and it didn't work because people didn't vote.
But not the same. But first of all, this idea that they're going to start changing it to who has a passport is like fucking wild. Well, we know 50, that's ridiculous, right? But
that's not how it was in 1789, so that's sure better.
Correct. We had no passport situation like that. So, but I mean, that's what they're going to do. They're going to pick and choose. I think I was talking to Dave about this, what I get frustrated with on protests, even though I am for protesting, I'm for freedom exercising, is that it just feels like a bunch of people circle jerking each other that are already in agreement with each other, right? It's like, a bunch of Free Palestine people protesting with each other does not make Palestine freer, and it certainly doesn't make anything better.
You're empowering Hamas, but yeah.
I walked past a pro-French, anti-Marie Le Pen protest today. I'm talking to Zephyr about it, and I was telling Dave, like, there was no point in the protest. Like, it was anti-racism protest, but it gets lost when, the same ding-dong people that want to wear the Antifa shit and they're I mean, I literally saw a girl who was wearing a blouse of the fucking, the kefti, whatever it's called. It was a blouse of that. And she's TikToking herself on, and I was like, this is bullshit. I am so fucking
performative.
Performative.
That's the point.
Silliness. It's not effective. And Zephyr's like, well, don't you think it's important that people get out and say what they want? I said, yeah, but I think we're so numb to it now. It doesn't matter. We're walking past this. We haven't learned anything. Anybody walking past this is not going to go over there and register for anything or sign up. And I'm just like, skin in the game. I don't want to hear another fucking person tell me their leftist views when they don't do shit. I am telling you, the amount of people that put Ukrainian flags on their goddamn house, but it was my fucking ass that was in Poland on my own fucking dime, working with the refugees. I never see anyone do the work. And I am exhausted by it. I am so fucking sick. Americans in particular are the biggest performative fucking assholes. Let's black out our fucking Facebooks. Let's do this, but let's put like, they don't do shit. Where are all the Palestinian refugees in the homes of the Americans who fucking tanked our fucking election on this behalf? Where are they?
To Ethan's point, on the positive side here, we mentioned earlier the farmer friend of mine in Minnesota who saw a bunch of farmers protesting where he wasn't expecting it, right? And same thing in this little corner of Rhode Island here. Yes, a super blue state, but on the front page of the little Westerly Sun here, pretty big protest for the size of this town. Blue state, but this is a really red corner of the state.
Right.
So I don't think anything unites people like, war is one thing, but if you tank the economy, you might actually see people come together with a focus.
I am so sick of Americans being all about their fucking bottom line instead of about being decent fucking human beings. Oh, it has to hurt you. It has to hurt your fucking farm for you to give a fuck. You were fine to vote for Trump because I was going to lose access to my own fucking ovaries. But now that it impacts you, fuck you. I was already out here saying, if you do this, you're fucked too. Like, I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it.
But at least it's happening today.
Yes.
Better now than never.
You're both making the right points, though. Hang on a second. I think this is really important. This is such an important point. No, I mean it. It's like, this is like, what you two are saying in the moment is so, this is a summary of what's going on. Crissy, you're right. And you're speaking to a core human condition, which is, for the majority, I think the majority of humans have a hard time empathizing, right, with others when they're having their own, whether they're real or perceived, struggles, right? So the executive function allows them to only focus when they're having whether it's real or perceived doesn't matter. It's the same to the human brain. This struggle, our ability to reach out and empathize with others is reduced. And Dave, at the same time, is also right that the key right now is these farmers and others on the right are starting to say, wait a minute, that's not what I voted for. Now, we can all say, yeah, you did, because you knew he kept broadcasting he was going to do this global trade war with tariffs. But the point is it is now affecting them. And so now that is the critical turning point of when change starts to happen, is that the regular Republicans start saying, fuck this, to their elected officials. Remember, Congress people get elected every 2 years. So they're super sensitive to this, that if suddenly their core constituency is like, we're going to get you the fuck out of office because you're not representing us now, even if it's a safe red district, because they'll at least primary him out and go back to Lincoln Chafee, for example. Wasn't he? He was one of the classic moderate Republicans, I think, from Rhode Island, right? Yeah. But the point is that they're like, no. Yeah, we want a secure border, but I still need to be able to sell my products to China and to European Union, wherever it is. And now you've stopped my ability to sell my products, so I'm losing money, and you cut off my grants, and. But I want to go back to another point there, Crissy, to your part with the empathy. Part of what shuts us down is the Gilded Age, the serfs and the lords. When you're an oppressed underclass that has to work 15 hours a day, 6 days a week, you are unable to put forth the mental energy to empathize. So there's an underlying
it's evil.
Process here. It is. It's evil.
It's evil because it takes people like, the Dolores Huertas of the world who are willing to be beaten to death, as Mexican Americans that are out there saying, yeah, the farm workers are like being abused, and we should have rights for them because they're a core part of this country. And they're like beating to death this woman who's saying this, right? Like, that's why we only have a handful of those examples in our world, because like when you're under stress, obviously that's the ideal, is the less educated and the more stressed out you are, the less empathy or ability to stand up and say anything. I totally get that. I'm just fucking over it. Like I literally am sick of Americans being such fuck-faced, fucking narcissistic. Literally, this is Americans.
Yeah. And by the way, just for the record, I completely agree and stand with Crissy on MFing these guys and be like, I just think it'd be great if Crissy and I ran a rally together and the two of us were welcoming people and Crissy would be like, where the F have you been, motherfuckers? You fucked up the election. I'd be like, guys, come on. It's all right. Better late than never. Better late than never, you know.
I'm like, I just still like, I'm trying. I'm trying so hard to be like, yeah, it is really fucked up. I hear you, fucking liberal cunts that just wanted to tank us. I fucking hear you, Republican racist cunts that fucking destroyed the country. Like, everyone is having their own fucking Onceler moment. And I'm just like, no, I'm already the Lorax. I already fucking said this was going to happen. I spoke for the goddamn trees. And you're out here like telling all the little boys with your little fucking seed how fucked it was. Eat shit. Like, I'm literally at the eat shit part.
We will be delighted to have all of you at the Should Be a Morning Show rally. You'll just have to deal with Crissy's shit when you show up. And once you take a bit of that, then come on in.
You can't come unless you're willing to take the heat, but I welcome you. I'll bake cookies. How about that?
So I did want to make one point about, in my endless pointing out about Elon Musk.
Yay, we only have
that's the hands off was really about Doge and all the insanity of what they're doing, as opposed to the tariff specifically. But I talked about for many, many, many years that in that Rolling Stone interview with Elon Musk back in like 2016, he admitted a bunch of things about his dad and his upbringing, right? How horrific. He, again, grew up in apartheid South Africa. The allegation is that his dad shot a lot of black people on his property, and may have not necessarily done it purely out of a self-defense type motivation. I can't speak to the veracity of that, but just one more little piece of news that I saw pop back up again this week that I think is really relevant. And again, we are not our parents, but how we are raised does affect us. I just want to remind you about Elon's dad. Remember, Elon's dad has been married a few times, party of family values, and then none of them have stayed married for any duration, apparently. And anyway, you know that Elon's dad married a woman who had a 4-year-old daughter when Elon's dad was 46.
I know where this is going. I'm very excited.
Her name is Jana Bezuidenhout. Nice, good Dutch name, right?
Name, yeah.
Afrikaner.
Afrikaan.
And so she was 4 years old when Errol Musk, Elon's dad, married her mom, Heidi, or Haida, depending on how you pronounce it, if you want to be correct in the Dutch or Afrikaans. And so he has fathered 2 children with his stepdaughter.
Yes. That little 4-year-old girl is now his wife.
So it's an easy inference to say he groomed her.
Well, yeah. I mean, Elon's dad is fucking evil and disgusting. And like, that's why when part of me is like, when he's shitting on Elon, it's like, oh, pot calling kettle black. But at the same time, it's also like, listen to this guy, because pieces of shit, no pieces of shit. Water seeks its own level, man. Like they're both pieces of shit. They're both going to do anything they can to discredit and fuck with the other, because obviously the dad is now pissed that Elon has superseded him at being the world's biggest piece of shit. So, there's that whole family drama that you've got going on there. Elon Musk's dad is married to his 4-year stepdaughter, which he met when she was 4 years old. The fuck.
And with stepfather. So it's not just he met her. You know what I mean? He was the father.
It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a chance meeting.
Actually makes Woody Allen look kind of quaint, doesn't it?
It makes Woody Allen seem like he's just a classic, typical American doing crazy shit to his own family.
And Roman Polanski suddenly looks like a clean and whatever in comparison.
All of them are
yes, I agree.
Shit, to be clear, but that Musk family is honestly, these are some sick motherfuckers, and I am so like, it's very funny to me because immediately when Elon Musk took over Doge, and like that first probably week or so, a lot of guys that I knew were like, I can't wait to see what Elon does, and like, like I think he's gonna do some great shit. And I was like, this guy's a piece of shit. And they're like, well, he might not be the best guy, but like, and none of those guys will even remotely antagonize me on my Facebook or Instagram anymore. They've just gone silent. Like, everyone's just fucking silent now.
By the way, really shocking that none of this shit would turn off President Trump in inviting Elon in, the guy who says he would date his daughter if she wasn't his daughter. I mean, how fucked are all these guys?
This is so sick, you guys. This is like,
but they're Christian.
The Christian values. My God. My God.
Can I give you one last piece of bad news, Crissy, before
What?
we wrap the show? I'm sorry to share one piece of bad news. Because I know you've been there and enjoyed it, and I've been there and enjoyed it. And speaking about your Greek heritage, here in Los Angeles, Papa Christos is going out of business.
No!
77 years.
Oh,
77 years. Yep.
What's Papa Christos?
Okay, well, as part of the Orthodox Church / like iconic piece of LA history, and like you would go to Papa Christos, like they have an event center there too. Like it's a whole
and a store, like a Greek grocery store, and they have the restaurant.
And it's like a bakery, and it's the church is there, and there's like an event center. It's like the Greek hub. I mean, there's one in I think the Valley and in the Valley as well. But that Papa Christos is like, I don't know. It's like icon of Greek culture in Los Angeles. And I mean, people go there even over Easter to get stuff, and they're not Greek. You go there for your baklava, although my mother's is better. We're never allowed to go there and tell her.
And I've been there and enjoyed that place, and we've talked about it in the past. And what's so sad is it speaks to, in the overall housing market, office rent market, whatever you want to talk about, that it has become so out of control that landlords are trying to squeeze every last penny out of everybody. What they're claiming that I saw in the news, Crissy, is that the rent just got too high and they could not afford the rent. And so their last day, if you want to pick up something, Crissy, or have your family side and pick something up and send it to you, is May 4th is their last day in business here in Los Angeles.
My mom definitely won't go because she bakes everything better than everybody. So I will. That's all. You can't even tell her you went. But I hope everybody goes and patronizes them. They were such a huge, iconic part of LA history, and just go grab a box of Greek cookies and eat your fucking feelings. I'm so sad. That is so sad.
And by the way, my niece makes better baklava than your mom.
Well, I'm sure. I make really good baklava. It's like Dave knows this. You can never say this, but like I like my spanakopita better than my mom's.
My niece Venice makes the greatest baklava I've ever tasted.
Does she use walnuts or pistachios or a combo? Do we know? Because one is more Greek and one is more Turkish. Walnuts is more traditionally Greek.
I believe she does it with walnuts.
Sounds like we're going to need to have a bake-off that may or may not turn into a food fight, yes. But I think we should do it.
I agree, and the three of us should judge it, and so Dave will be the decider.
Impartial.
That's right.
Bring me the baklava and the spanakopita and the moussaka. Bring it all to me.
I will never forget. I've always loved baklava, and when my niece made it the first time that I tried it, she had made it before, of course, but the first time I tried it, I was like, it's just not even close. It's the best baklava I've ever had. And I've had homemade baklava before, but this was just off the charts.
I still have trauma from my grandmother standing over me, teaching me how to make it, and then being upset that I wasn't getting the corners of the phyllo pastry proper and like losing her fucking mind. And then my mom was like, that's terrible, she did that. And then cut to 30 years later, my mom's trying to teach Zephyr and my niece and nephew how to like do spanakopita, and she's like, they're not folding it right. Like, it's not. I'm like, you literally are her. Like, we are having the baklava moment.
Can we go? I'm starving.
Yeah. It is time to go eat some delicious food. Follow us on social media. Thank you guys so much for listening. Dave, Crissy, I love you guys. I always appreciate it together. All of our listeners and viewers appreciate. Remember to share the show. Should be a morning show with everybody you know. That's how we build the audience. Follow us on the social. Should be a morning show. Drop us an email, shouldbeamorningshow@gmail.com. We also have a contact form on shouldbeamorningshow.com. Talk to you next week.
I'm going to play them out with the sound of my stomach growling.